Welcome to the Explainer. We've always been obsessed with trying to predict the future, right? From the stock market to election outcomes. But what if, instead of just forecasting, we could actually rehearse it? Well, today we're diving into an open source tool called MiroFish, which lets you build these digital sandboxes to do just that.
So this is really the big question at the heart of MiroFish. Imagine for a second you're about to launch a new product. Now, you could rely on polls and focus groups, sure. Or what if you could spin up an entire virtual city, release your product to thousands of AI-driven citizens, and just watch what happens? See how they react, how they talk about it, who influences who. That's the kind of rehearsal we're talking about here.
Think about it. Traditional forecasting is kind of linear. It looks at what happened in the past, draws a straight line, and hopes for the best. But we all know reality is never a straight line. MiroFish is all about something different. Something called emergent behavior, these super complex patterns that just bubble up from tons of simple individual actions. A perfect example is a traffic jam. No single driver wants a traffic jam, but it emerges anyway from thousands of individual decisions. MiroFish is built to model that messy, unpredictable collective outcome.
Okay, so let's pop the hood and get into the engine that powers all this. MiroFish is what's known as a swarm intelligence engine. The core idea is that you can get really complex, intelligent behavior from a group of simple agents just following basic rules, kind of like a colony of ants or a school of fish. And as you'll see, this approach is really starting to catch on.
So here's the core concept. You feed MiroFish a piece of real-world information. It could be a news article, a new company policy, even a chapter from a book. It then spins up a whole digital world and populates it with thousands of AI agents. And these aren't just data points, okay? They're simulated people with memories and goals and the whole shebang. The magic happens when they all start interacting with each other, and suddenly a collective opinion or a group behavior just emerges. Something you would have never predicted by looking at any single agent on its own.
And the project's vision is summed up perfectly right here. Predicting anything. That is a hugely ambitious goal. They're not just building a tool for financial modeling or for social media analysis. Nope. They're building a universal engine that's designed to simulate pretty much any complex system, where group behavior is the key ingredient. And that ambition is clearly hitting a nerve. For an open-source project, having over 19,000 stars on GitHub, that means something. This isn't just some niche academic tool. It's being actively watched and explored by developers who are really excited to get their hands on this kind of large-scale social simulation.
So, let's peek inside the sandbox. How does MiroFish actually go from just a piece of text to a fully functioning simulation where you can literally watch a virtual future unfold?
This quote from the creators really gets to the heart of the whole philosophy. Why test a super high-stakes policy or a big marketing campaign in the real world where failure is really costly? Here, you can run hundreds of battle simulations inside this digital sandbox. You let all the bad ideas fail in the simulation so that only the best ones win out in reality.
The process follows this 5-step workflow. It starts by building what's called a knowledge graph from your text, which is really just a map of all the key concepts and how they're related. It uses that map to create the world and fill it with AI agents. After the simulation runs, you get a report on the big picture outcome. But, and this is the really cool part, you can also go in and interview any single agent to understand its personal reasoning. It gives you both the macro and the micro view.
Now for the tech stack. The choices they made here are pretty interesting. Using Python for the back end is a no-brainer. It's the language of data science and AI. But what's really crucial is that the core engine is built on the Camel AI framework. Now, unlike some other more rigid systems, this allows for way more dynamic and, communicative agents. And that's key if you want to simulate complex social stuff. It's a trade-off. They're prioritizing believable, human-like agent behavior over just raw computational speed.
So, what can you actually do with an engine like this? The potential applications are fascinatingly broad, and they really split into two different categories, the very serious and the wonderfully creative.
At the macro level, this is a tool for some serious decision-making. A government could test run a new tax policy to hunt for any unintended consequences. But then, on the micro level, it becomes this amazing creative tool for anyone to explore all kinds of what-if scenarios. And the project's most famous demo is a perfect example of this.
So get this. The team took the first 80 chapters of a famous, unfinished 18th century Chinese novel, Dream of the Red Chamber. They fed it all into the simulation to predict a plausible ending based on the characters' established personalities and all their relationships. It's just this beautiful marriage of literary analysis and swarm intelligence. How cool is that?
So how hard is it to actually get this up and running yourself? Well, for those of you who are technically curious, the project is completely open source, and the team has made the setup surprisingly straightforward.
Essentially, if you're a developer, you probably already have the main tools you need, Python and Node.js. The fact that it's built on such common technologies was a really deliberate choice to make it as easy as possible for people to just jump in and start experimenting.
Once your environment is all set up, getting the project running is simple. You just download the code from GitHub, run one installation script, and then start the local server. Within just a few minutes, you can be ready to create your very first simulation, which is pretty remarkable for a tool this powerful.
So let's zoom out one last time and think about the big picture. A tool like MiroFish really represents a fundamental shift in forecasting. It suggests that maybe predicting the future is less about finding a single correct answer and more about understanding the complex system that creates the future in the first place. And here's the crucial point. The real value isn't just getting a single answer. It's about being able to explore all the complex, often chaotic interactions that lead to an outcome. It's a shift from seeing the future as a single point on a map to seeing it as a whole landscape of possibilities, shaped by the constant push and pull of collective behavior.
And that's what makes this so compelling, really. It leaves us with a final thought. If you had a tool that could rehearse almost any future you can imagine, the most important skill wouldn't be about finding the answer anymore. It would be about framing the right question. So, what would you ask first?